I stopped walking. Hank laughed because this was how he thought. Revolution is just perpetual change, removing violence from Leon Trotsky's theory of permanent revolution. So, so Steve's a really nice guy. In the front windows, there's usually signs for causes, unless he's in a minimalist mood. Then they'll be bare of progressive propaganda. But Steve is big on listening to what you think and won't try to tell you how. I thought he'd be home with his wife and I just wanted to stand out front. But it was a full packed party in what appeared to be a high-ceilinged one-room saloon. I could see a small backyard of people, and inside at the back right corner, light came from the floor, indicating steps led to more in the basement. It appeared to be a typical wine and cheese art gallery opening, but I never figured out that night's excuse for like-minded people getting together. Then after making our way through clusters of conversation, Steve greeted us, dressed casually in a blue jean collared shirt. Steve said hello. Why bring a lawyer now? So Hank slapped the bar grinning and said he's with me to say goodbye to New York before I'm off to the bitter cold. You're really going, Steve said, smiling with both eyes and his mouth. So Hank answered embarrassed, Aeroflot in the morning. Steve poured 3 plastic cups of red wine and handed us 2 from the long bar that ran the length of the western wall. Raising his, he waited on attention from several nearby groups. Then Steve said, I toast tomorrow resembling today, and that we're all having a good time. While I sipped, they both put their glasses on the bar without drinking, so Steve told me, matter of factually, we don't generally drink. Then he nodded down the bar, emphasizing it wasn't tended. We didn't stay. Hank detoured us to the street for warm, fresh air. Then he wanted to leave, reasoning his life is too serious to party. Steve said, yeah, right, enjoy the work. I wanted to stay, delighted by a happy event, whatever the ecological occasion. A definite pleasant contrast to Hank's liberal shakedown. West with traffic, we hugged Houston's north curve, avoiding these cars, using the extra wide straightaway as a drag strip to not be stopped by blocks of eventual red lights. The extra crosstown traffic lanes draw them here for the race. Really gets them flying. Steve has heard many collisions from his store, from that dogleg glitch at Houston and Lafayette that promotes hasty accidents. Past Broadway, coasting Houston's decline, Hank told me Steve's ironic career choice. That long bar along his western wall is from his inventory of refurbished bars he sells. But once upon a time, he argued with the owners of London's Marquee Club where Pink Floyd played London's first happening. The proprietors wanted to join the Selling Alcohol Club when Steve said their venue should really be alive. New, not a bar, nor lethargic coffee house, because wild times had come after centuries under some masters' thumbs. The new kids could create without alcohol's hostility. But as we know, alcohol remains the monopoly. I kept my mouth shut, turning right and north on LaGuardia Place, which south of Houston is West Broadway. We passed the block-long fenced-in garden and locked the bikes behind the foliage on the Bleecker Street side of the big single-story supermarket. Hank asked if I was in the mood for groceries. He was, thirsty and in search of an affordable price. Notice they're all as bright as a hospital to spot thieves, among other things. But what counts most is customers definitely seeing those products. Hank went straight for and down the aisle to grab a sugar water container large enough for 5 people to get the bargain I want, plus 2 loaves of whole wheat that made some sense. Heading back to the front registers, he spun more riddled attacks on consumer goods, such as not a bargain and spiraling pricelessly out of reach. Imagine, competition once actually competed to offer bargains. But now, I think corporations take turns offering sales to a populace that doesn't really know what anything should actually cost. See? See the digits in the customer's eyes at checkout. The indifferent and satisfied shop at more regular hours than these people can late tonight. These strugglers' anxieties resemble the true individualist who hunted for days in a row to feed their families and seasonally tilled the soil in the hope environmental tragedy might hold off till next season. And still there's tribulation in the eyes of today's hunters. Everyone watching their rewards disappear, as if this was all desert, and we're drinking as fast as we can before everything evaporates. Gone, desperate, sadness. Lost paychecks are written across everyone's face here. Hear the silent groan of us working ourselves to the grave and bone. Come on, Hank, I said. Even America's poor are rich by third world standards. Your point has little meaning, merit, or value. I think where's the beef applies. Of course, he smiled first and put his purchases on the counter with their price tags up for the cashier. Then said, I know what you mean. The lesser fortunate have a great life. The least among us have all they need was communism's fallacy, to each according to what's determined they deserve. Then in case Hank was beginning his proletarian revolution right inside the supermarket, I silently agreed by hustling myself out the exit, where I responded when he came out. I said, you know, Hank, in America people aren't just given what they need. We have the right to earn what we want. Apologetic, he said, sorry. I was emotional. I can't carry this bitterness around for long and feel good about myself. But hear this. In America, we even have to fight for the right to party. Another smile. I love debate, he said. Then he shared with me first from the large bottle before reducing the major portion himself. Offered again, I said no. Hank said, I know I'll recall the aroma of supermarket over there. That specific surrounded by food products smell. I wonder if when Yeltsin cried, seeing the full shelves in Houston, was he overcome by the thick fragrance? The experience would have meant less without the smell. Ready to ride, Hank gave what was left of the bottle to a homeless man who didn't seem to appreciate the gift until we were almost out of sight. I turned and saw him gobble it down as if he were the three other people it was meant to supply. Against traffic, we passed the now long gone Bleecker Street Cinema, where Hank abused their discount tickets in the early 80s, absorbing film classics before cable television pulled the rug from under that business. His friend, who partly inspired his moving to New York, had shown an award-winning high school film there, and one night there he met a Japanese woman and lost his virginity. The same week, the Village Voice announced the discovery of a new sex disease on their back page. Past the bitter end, we turned up McDougal by Figaro's, passing the Café Wa, near where the Folklore Center was. We passed Provincetown Theater, still up sign between 3rd and 4th Streets, without which Eugene O'Neill's Playful Insight would have had to have happened somewhere else. As it was and is, commercial theater has to wait to see a success before performing one. We stopped and looked from 4th Street and Washington Square Park and turned back to face the theater again. Hank said, there are very literate plays built around unfulfilled dreams that determine the characters with those dreams, describing living as acquiring voids that can't be filled. Yet Willie Loman still wore a suit and tie every day, even while driving off into oblivion. I asked, your point, Hank? Sometimes in their failure, unfulfilled dreams come true. Imagination is its own reality for us sometimes, no? Imagine this crowded tourist trap. This neighborhood was home spawning ground to the folk singers, meaningful musical messages that circulated in waves heard throughout the world. their point only partly undermined by commercial success that promoted some entertainers big time. Seems a little strategy apparently built on the naive courage of the frazzled 1930s era American communists, Woody Guthrie's friends. Mix in the Beats' defiance against everyone told what to do. A little of a lot of drinking was done here, attacking conformity through their jazzed up subculture. And add Bill Cosby and all the groundbreaking comedians who stepped up the charge on the public mind for us to see ourselves with a sense of humor and added scope, all irritated into pearls inside capitalism's oyster, just trying to get by. And yes, make more than a dime, and to do so they had to hit a nerve and strike major chords for attention on their commercially manufactured climbs to stardom. After the park, we rode west against traffic again, crossing 6th Avenue, and a short distance up 4th is where Hank stopped us at the southeast corner with Jones Street. Hank said, across from us, 7 storefronts in from the Avenue 6, Dr. Hammer's carriage house, where Hammer admits throwing parties with the expensive stuff during Prohibition. Then Hank saluted and I waved, thinking that was enough as we went slowly west against traffic again, crossing 7th Avenue, where the one-way street switches direction, making us finally